coming soon. So
yeah, 'tis the season, right? You can't just let that stuff just hang out. Look at you.
Yeah.
Well,
Crazy.
I mean, it is kind of crazy.
The delivery booze has been insane. I'm like,
that was one question. So
I
I
just
asked
picked up some
Tommy
workout
about
equipment.
that.
I'm like, I got to do something, set up a home gym or something, because this is just too easy now. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, you gonna get a Peloton, become one of those assholes?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
You're in Boulder. Just call Bobby and go run for 10 to 25 miles.
I know, man. He's running 100 miles every week.
Dude, he's a machine, and he
does
his casual 15 on Sunday, as he references it.
Bobby Shane.
Dude, I want to get back to something you mentioned earlier. You said, if they weren't wizardly in the kitchen or what have you, then you'd have furloughed them instantly. The Boulder that team is like a recipe for like dankness for sure. Did you see a little, glimpse or like a flash of brilliance that maybe when you come out of this, there'll be some new concepts coming of it? Like with the Bruto, like what's going on future wise? What are the expectations?
Yeah, two sides of my brain right now is what would the industry look like coming out of this if it continues on in the same way, shape, or form it is now? Then of course, what would we look like and what have we learned? But it's crazy to think about. Our restaurants have been, first, I never thought this industry was sustainable. I'll just say that. And I never thought I was probably good enough to make it work. Just being honest. So
joke's on you, huh?
Well, when we were talking to our employees yesterday about this new change and what we're doing for them and how this is all going to work, I said, I didn't ever think that I would stand up here and be saying that we're doing this for any other reason except for the fact that I suck, I wasn't a good enough cook, and I don't know how to run a business. But instead of like saying it for a different, this industry is it's already so volatile, right? And so I already thought that the industry as a whole was never sustainable. It's crazy to say that again. If anybody actually is going to listen to this, I don't know how many people listen to your thing, dude.
It's me, you, and my mom.
I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to tell you and your mom that that the business itself. Like, so whenever I created Basta in the location that I was in, I was like, this is never going to make it. So I'm in the worst location. And what I remember, like my first, true overseas cooking experience in Naples, Italy, if I went to Da Michele or some of these pizza places, they were there for 100 years. I'm like, oh, what's that? Like, why is half your building missing? And they're like, oh, that's where a bomb hit.
World War II was a bitch.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, that's how I'm going to approach my business. I'm going to approach it every day as if a bomb is going to drop out of the sky and hit my building. So the first thing I did was, even though I was working at Providence in Los Angeles at a 2 Michelin star restaurant, I came back and did what I thought was a survival for me, which was just like, you do a one wood fire oven, a pizza program, but for people to eat there every night. If you're not in downtown city environment, you would cook a fish, you would cook chicken. And that's where, and when I wasn't making it for the first, again, 3 to 5 years, I just kept pivoting away from lunch. I learned the survival game because I was like, I don't think happy hours are sustainable. I don't know how sustainable lunch is. I don't know I think one-offs of anything, brunch, things like that work. But I was like, what I learned is like consolidated services with consolidated teams with a lot of intention behind it. Meaning we don't really turn over people, and that's what I'm saying. We have 4 spots right now. And I took that mentality across the board. We opened the Wolfs Tailor as a 4-day-a-week restaurant, and everybody looked at me again like I was an idiot. But I was like, this is what we need to do. Yeah. After people hear this, they're going to be like, oh yeah, this guy's an idiot. But it was my approach. I was like, man, I need something that can survive the business as a whole. So I think when this thing hit right now, I was like already in some way at an advantage because, if you were running a pretty strong happy hour, those are some of the first workers to go, right? Or lunch or whatever. Like, if you're running all those services, those are some of the first restaurants that had to furlough, that had to lay off. And look, in hindsight, we'll look back on this and I'll probably have a whole different thought about what happened and the steps we took. But right now, out of the gate, I felt like with my businesses, we were sort of one step ahead just because we had already had that in place. That failure mentality, that was like, I have 10 people on payroll at Basta. I have, 12 to 15 at Wolfs, and Wolfs is very busy, but we ran it with a very small crew. And Bruto has been, 4 people, and the bakery, 4 people. So it allows us to have, like I said, it allowed me not to lose the connection with the food. I was like, well, I can't cook in 4 places. I can't be there. So how do I? So that was also part of it, is like, how do you still produce that level of food? So that's where I was always like, it's got to be small. It's got to be regional focused or local focused. That if you need to weather a storm, this has to be the model for that storm. I didn't understand, that's why I said I can never be a restaurant group that had 15 restaurants. You know what I mean? And now
you're not nearly smart enough to run 15.
No. And I feel for everyone in this industry right now. And I'm also inspired by this industry right now, watching everybody do what they're doing right now. Every chance I get, wherever I can eat and support, I have my favorites right now. And, but I love watching the resilience of this industry. And I've always, and now you see those pie charts everywhere. But I always when I talked about, I was like, hospital healthcare and hospitality make up the world's largest pools of income. That's it. If you look at Apple, you look at tech, it's really small in comparison. As a single company, sure, they're bigger in, many ways. But if you make up the industry as a whole, those 2 industries, which both take care of people, are by far the largest industries in the world.
I think you're right. And we're going to have to, and you mentioned you're going to have to, you'll look back and say, did I do this right or did I do this wrong? And, hindsight is 2020, as everyone's saying. But maybe once we look back on this, we'll realize that we undervalued not only the restaurant industry as a whole from the outsider's perspective, as well as the healthcare. Obviously everyone thinks of how doctors are bougie and things of that nature, but it's those nurses that are grinding the 12-hour shifts, putting their lives on the line.
It's crazy.
So y'all are making, I think the best way to describe your business model is you're proactively thinking on your toes. So like if you do have to make a pivot, like we've heard Tommy and Caroline and, Fritzy, all those cats say that have joined us on this, everyone's had to make a pivot. And so with you kind of always being in the do or die or doom or die, whatever the saying, do or die, y'all have been able to make these moves that are best for your team and best for your restaurant industry. So I applaud you for that.
And look at, just 1 second, sorry to interrupt, but look at the names you just named though too. I would argue that their mentality has been a lot like my mentality, without diving into Caroline's business plan and me not knowing, I just know that she thought that her cooking in front of a stove with a team of 10 people. And I also happen to know that she took a similar approach in how she pays their employees and shares pool systems and keeps her workers as a first priority in that way. And it's hard to do that in big establishments, but Tommy's the same way, dude. One of my favorite guys out there, man, has always been from day one. And watching Tommy go, and just say, hey, he's got 3-4 spots. He's set up for this. He was able to pivot quick. And again, one of my favorite, favorite people. And so you're talking to people that have, I think, a similar mentality that I hope to see everyone survive out of this. I just kind of expected certain versus some larger, more broad groups that are, you saw I forgot, it was like Cheesecake Factory or something. They're not going to pay their rent or whatever, I don't know. I don't know the groups that come out of this and the new way, like we were talking about, what's a new way of doing this. But I hope that guys, guys like Tommy and Caroline, like I hope that their story, when they come out of this and they share and they look back, they're like, this is what worked, because I believe in it. I believe in a local regional system of food. I believe that our food system was broken, and you're going to see that it's going to be exposed during this time. I believe that the things that we're doing around heirloom grain, or what Jose has been doing for years around ranching, or, those types of things.
RC
Carter
mentioned something as well.
Yeah, shout out, dude. My next stop, I'm going over there right now because I'm picking up a pallet of meat from Carter Country right now. Traceability around his product and what Carter Country does is insane. It's bonkers, dude. And there will be, and I already know Nate Singer, the former
dude, he told me he's headed up to fucking Wyoming.
Yeah, he's going, but right now he's over in their freezer packing up pallets of meat. The demand is so high right now, dude, for that type of product, that people want it in their home, that people feel like this is the thing that they need in their body right now, whether it's my heirloom grains or there. I think that there's going to be a spotlight shined on things like that. And, again, on looking back, I hope that's the story, that we understand that it shouldn't go back to the way it was, because it was broken. And let's highlight the things that were working, and let's see more of that. And let's help others get to that. Because I'll have 50-pound bags of flour on pallets in 3 weeks. I literally will have in 3 weeks, if, Food Mill or any of the producers of, bread right now on a large scale or small scale, I'll be able to provide pallets of flour in 2 weeks from heirloom grains grown in Colorado. I think it's powerful, dude.
Yeah.
And I hope people buy it.
We'll be sure to plug that also. You mentioned earlier about how society and, people have kind of come to rally and support not only the independent restaurateurs in Denver. I feel like we've been trying to do that fairly well, especially not for one of those large food communities like your New Yorks, your LAs, those large staples. I felt like we've been trying to rally well around each other and not necessarily fuck the Cheesecake Factory, but seriously fuck them. I mean, no love lost on that one. What are some of those favorites you said you were hitting? What are some maybe that our listeners would love to hit that you give the nod of approval to? Where do you get takeout and delivery from?
Well, right now, I think one of the hardest working cooks, and I've always said this in this state, is Steve Rezakowski at Oak. That guy's a beast, and he is going to open a new pizza place in the new Avanti in Boulder as we come out of this. And, he's got an awesome project in the works, but I'm getting a lot of food from him. There's a little unknown. She used to be the chef at Amu in Boulder. Her name is Yuki-san. Like, Yuki is like what she does around food and simple Japanese home cooking is like insane. So her place is called Aoi, AOI, and that's in Boulder. So those are my two, because I live in Boulder. So I've been, hitting them up because, again, they're fairly new, and I look for sustainability. I still think that the Black Belly burrito game is strong. So, you keep that going. That's a no brainer. I like, a lot of people said this about coming up to Dry Storage to buy bread. That's the part I'm going to miss this week about seeing that. Is like, I was like, hey, I'm going to start selling this downtown on Pearl at Cured, and Cured is pausing service too right now. But they're like, I just like seeing your staff's faces, so I'm still going to come out here, right? So I like seeing all the butchers at Black Belly and rolling in there. I love seeing Steve hustle it out in front of his oven right now with 4 people. I'm just like, dude, every time I walk in, it just makes me want to go home and, cook, or just like, I don't know. It just is very inspiring. So, and as far as the, Denver scene, a lot of people can speak more to that. You've heard my favorites so far. I'm sure a lot of people are saying the same thing. I actually was talking about do you know if Super Mega Beans going still, or what they're doing?
So Dana's got a mixed menu between working class and Super Mega Beans. So you can kind of get a little best of both worlds all packaged up and just swoop through what I call the hot corner right there and grab.
Yeah, dude, I'm into that. Like, that's more food I want to eat. Her comfort food is just the comfort that, you know what I mean?
Dude, working class can get full as a tick in a heartbeat. And you're like, you're in a couch zone. It's great.
Yeah, I love that.
That may
so
not
I haven't been, I haven't ventured out to like, you know, I don't have a fast food list. How do you feel about fast food?